Hello, this is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. Go ahead and join me now so that we can go over some immigration topics and I can also answer your questions today. So I have excellent news that I want to share with you. So today I was able to call a dear client of mine and be able to share the good news that my client's VAWA was approved. So that's great news because, as you can, if you know the requirements for VAWA, you know that it is not an easy journey. And so to be able to tell my client that all our hard work paid off and it's now approved it's always great to do that. Now, I also had to tell my client what the next steps are to get to the green card, because there are 2 steps to the VAWA process. So I want to go over that so you understand how a VAWA works, and also once you get an approval, what comes next. But go ahead, put your questions in the comments now so that I can also answer your questions after I'm finished with the topic that I'm here to talk about. And then also just giving you an update, I checked on what's going on with that new bill. So you know that they are currently negotiating a bill that will restrict asylum. It will give the president authority to shut down the border, and it would also possibly expand the expedited removal, right? So expedited removal is only within 100 miles of the border, but they are looking at expanding that so that they can enforce expedited removal. And so far, that bill, they're saying that it's dead. So the Republicans, Democrats cannot come to an agreement, and they cannot come to a solution here to vote on it. So it hasn't even reached the point of where Senate and the House have voted on it yet. So we'll have to continue to watch that. I know that the president, so President Biden, is pushing hard to pass it because he does want to have a political plus on his end to say that he did take measures to control the border situation. And so he's pushing hard for this bill to pass. But the Republicans are not believing that the Democrats are doing this in good faith. They think that this is a political game that the Democrats are playing, and so now they're refusing to move forward with the bill. So I'll keep you updated on that part of it. Now let's talk about VAWA. Now with the VAWA, VAWA is for individuals who have been mistreated by their U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident spouse, a parent, or an adult citizen child, son or daughter, who's age 21 or older. If you are in this situation, mistreatment means physical, emotional, verbal, financial, and it also includes extreme cruelty. So extreme cruelty is where they're using the immigration process against you. They're disrespectful. They're delaying your immigration process. They're sabotaging your process, or they're telling you that no, they want you to pay them money. If you are in a situation where you feel as if you are not being treated fairly, not being treated well, not being treated with respect by your spouse, your parent, and when I say parent, you should be, to qualify for VAWA, you have to be under 21, but in some cases you can be between 21 and 25, under 25, as long as you haven't reached the age of 25 yet. And we can talk about whether there are ways for you to apply based on an exception if you're between the ages of 21 and 24. So if you're 24 and you can relate to this, it's time to call the office, schedule the appointment before your 25th birthday. If you do qualify, you will need to file this before your 25th birthday. If you were mistreated by a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident, permanent resident spouse, parent. If you were mistreated by a parent, so let me see here. Can you hear me here on Instagram? Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you have sound on. Okay, no sound. All right, let's fix that. All right, I apologize for the interruption here. I'm just going to fix a little technical issue that I'm having here. Okay, sound is back. Awesome. All right, and I just went ahead and fixed it. So great. All right, let me know. Just Shantae. Hi there, Shantae. I see you said sound is back. Let me know because I believe I fixed the issue. All right. So I was talking about the qualifications here. So if you are being mistreated by a spouse, a citizen or resident spouse, a parent, if you're under 21. Now, if you are under 25 and you can relate to being mistreated by a citizen or resident parent, it's still not too late. Just make sure that you schedule an appointment, talk to me before your 25th birthday. Actually, we should be filing the documentation before your 25th birthday because on your 25th birthday, you're no longer going to qualify for this. But if you were mistreated by a spouse, a parent, and you're under 25, you can qualify as well. And also, if you are a parent and you were mistreated by your um, citizen son or daughter who's age 21 or older, you can qualify for this. Now, what if you're mistreated from the time that the child was under 21, now they're 21, then you can still qualify for this. So get on it, schedule an appointment with me, and let's talk. Because VAWA offers much needed relief for individuals who are here, especially those who are without status. Chantal, I am looking at those. I'm going to look at the comments when I am finished talking about my topic. So keep putting those questions in the comments, and I will be more than happy to answer those questions when I'm finished here. So once you do get this approval, right? It gives you deferred action first. So it gives you protection, and then it allows you to move on automatically to the green card process. So that's the stage where my client is at right now. My client is going to go ahead and move automatically because she already has her green card application in. The hardest part was getting the approval for the VAWA. We've overcome that, and now my client can look forward to getting her 10-year green card in short order. So now, what other benefits does applying for VAWA give you? So if you're applying for VAWA, you're also able to get your work permit and your travel document while you're applying for VAWA, because you are allowed to apply for your green card at the same time. And while you're applying for your green card through adjustment of status, you are able to get your work permit and your travel document. So my clients are, and right now they're giving out the 5-year work permits. 5-year work permits and travel documents. So you're not left hanging for the time it takes for the VAWA approval to come through. You're able to move forward with your life. You're able to get your social security. You're able to work. You're able to go to school. You're able to do everything with that work permit, the travel document if you want to travel, and also the social security number that you're given. So it is very valuable, and it has now. Another thing is, what if you're in the middle of your process right now and your spouse is mistreating you, but you went for the marriage-based green card? Can you still go for VAWA for it to be on your own, where you can apply on your own? Absolutely. You can still apply for your own green card, even if you're still in the process. And I would say it's very important for you to see if that's something you want to do ASAP and on an emergent basis, because when you're going through the green card process, so many things can go wrong. You want to make sure that you can fix that before you have complications in your process. All right. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to answer these questions for you now. So keep putting those questions in the comments and I'll answer them. I'm heading to questions. So I'm on 4 different platforms. So I'm gonna go from one to the other. So you'll see me over here, but you can learn from the questions here and you'll see me moving along until I get to each platform. So what's the qualifications for the VAWA process? Oh, good, I just answered that one. Is it safe to go on a Caribbean cruise with a combo card? So one of my clients just came off of a cruise. So yes, but keep in mind, yes, if your risks are low, always check with your representative, your attorney, to make sure that nothing is going on with your case that raises concerns or raises your level of risk. I do advise my clients who plan to travel on an individual basis. I don't just send a general email out to all my clients and say, go on a trip. You have the travel document, go on a trip. No, because some of my clients, they may have a background that raises more risk of travel. They may have a criminal background, or they may have multiple immigration violations, like a past deportation order that, of course, will stop them, increase their risk of something happening if they're coming back into the country. So always check first before you take advantage of that travel card. But generally, if the risks are low and you're willing to bear the risk, the cruise, you can go on a cruise, definitely. And I've seen my clients enjoy a nice cruise as well. How long does it take to get a green card when you marry a citizen? So the shortest for my clients, the shortest is 4 months, on average 8 months, but it can take up to a little over a year, just depending on what's going on in the case. How long after you respond to requests for evidence do you get the answer? It's going to depend on what the issue is. So when they're asking for, say, something simple, like a medical, then I've seen 2 weeks to 4 weeks. If it's a little more complex, then a little over, 2 month, a month to 2 months to get an answer. Can I get my papers if I came here when I'm young but don't have any proof of entry? So not just by this circumstance, unfortunately. I don't know if you have DACA already, but some individuals who meet the requirements of DACA now DACA is on hold. So you can't submit any new applications, or if you do, they're going to put it on hold. But that's one remedy that has been granted to those in the past. If you already have DACA, you can renew it. Others would depend on your circumstances. What happened? What were the circumstances surrounding your entry? And then I ask questions about what you've been through to determine whether there is going to be relief. So this is where the consultation is going to be very, very important. Um, how long after you are married can you file your change of status? So I think this is adjustment of status. It's going to depend on a number of factors. So, for example, if you just got married but you met a month ago, you're going to want to take time to evaluate what you can show the immigration service to say that you have a strong bona fide application and marriage here. That's going to be the determining factor here. And it can even determine whether they're going to call you in for an interview or not, or they're going to send the green card in the mail. So it just depends. There's no rule that says you can't do it right away, but is it advisable? And this is where it's very good to have representation. My spouse is waiting on the oath ceremony. Can I start my adjustment of status process? So your spouse must be officially a U.S. citizen. If you are applying based on their U.S. citizenship, because permanent residents can petition for their spouses. But if you petition and you petition for them, you want to make sure you meet all the requirements. Now, one of the main things with having a U.S. citizen spouse is that you can be out of status and still apply through your US citizen spouse. If that's a situation here where you're applying based on your spouse's US citizenship, because otherwise you wouldn't qualify for adjustment of status, you have to wait until they're officially a US citizen. You don't want to be filling out, definitely don't want to be filling out any paperwork saying that your spouse is a US citizen before they actually get sworn in as a citizen, because that can lead to big problems. So definitely you have, in that case, you have to wait. But keep in mind, I'm not your attorney. I have not reviewed your situation. And so I'm making assumptions here. It's so important to make sure you have representation. But another reason why it wouldn't work, right? You're thinking, hey, but I apply for this and then my spouse becomes a citizen. What's the problem? Well, when you're filing for adjustment of status, it has to be approvable on the date that it was filed. So if your spouse is not a citizen, then they're going to be asking you to show that you had current legal status at the time you applied, because now it's going to be very important in whether they approve it if at the time you filed your spouse was still a US a permanent resident. I filed my VAWA November 2023, got receipt notice in December, now got receipt notice that case 360 and 485 was sent to Vermont. Is that the usual? So right now they're trying to distribute the workload, and so it is going to different service centers just depending on the workload. The logic behind it is they're trying to move cases faster. So that is typical. So we are getting a lot of transfer notices right now. How long does it take to receive a response after filing a marriage green card? So I would say 2 to 4 weeks. How long does it take to get the I-130 approved? I would say about 9 to 12 months. Can VAWA victims married to USC get food stamps even if the victim has no children in the US? It's possible. You do have to check with your state, but it is possible for you to get benefits as the victim of mistreatment. Can't you go to school if you don't have SSN? So yes, schools don't prohibit you from uh, getting an education if you don't have an SSN. So there are ways to get around that. And children, for example, when you have children who are going to public school, they are not required to have a social security number. Is there anything new in immigration as we speak? Not right now. No, nothing to do right now. A lot that's in the news is the border, the bill about controlling the border, and they can't come to an agreement right now. So after going to court for asylum, how can I get my biometrics? So Usually they will schedule the biometrics. So if you are going for asylum, that means you've applied for asylum and they will schedule. So you'll get a biometrics notice. Can someone on an H-2B visa file for the green card? Not just based on having the H-2B visa. You need to qualify in other ways. Now, you can do an adjustment of status, but you have to qualify. If you do biometrics in January, how long it take to get? So I don't go based on the biometrics. I go based on the date of filing. My cousin got 2-year green card. She refiled to remove conditions. She got 2 letters stating her green card has been extended for 2 years. What's the cause? So if she got 2 letters, one may be now they're not doing for 2 years. They're doing for 48 months. So um, it could be that one is a 48 month. Overstayed almost a year, but my employer wanting to petition for my green card. What are the chances of being denied? Your employer can't petition for your green card if if you overstayed. So this is very important to know, and I've seen a lot of people make these mistakes. And they think, especially sometimes the employer doesn't have the best intentions, and they tell you to overstay because they're going to fix your papers, knowing very well that they can't do that. And so in this case, you cannot overstay and get an employer to petition for you. It's not going to work. So do not do that. If your employer is going to petition for you, they have to petition for you first. You get the papers first, then you start to work for them. Very important. Just remember that simple rule. And nobody can take advantage of you if you understand that. So papers first, then work. You don't work for them first and then get papers. That's not allowed under immigration. What if your spouse and you fall out before the marriage and you have already overstayed? Then, if you've fallen out, I need to understand now. Spouses have disagreements, of course, but I would need to find out what the fallout is about, and are you somehow the victim in a power struggle here? Because that could possibly qualify you for VAWA, which I've talked about at length previously. What's the cost for a work permit? So the general cost is $495 with the biometrics. Without the biometrics, it's $410. But big but here. Do not go printing off a work permit application thinking you can just file for the work permit and you're good, right? You have to make sure you qualify for the work permit. Only certain people can qualify for the work permit. All right. Can I adjust status through marriage? Was paroled at southern border and have a pending asylum. So there are a number of issues going on here. So it sounds like you have a pending asylum. Is it in court? Are you going through the court through defensive asylum, or is it affirmative? Uh, and what kind of parole did you get? If you got a parole, if you got a certain type of parole, that then you could very well get the permanent residence through marriage, using that parole to show that you had an legal entry into the country that enables you to get the green card through adjustment of status. But then if it's going through court, it means that the court has a jurisdiction, and you would have to either get that terminated in order for the USCIS to be able to process your green card, or you could do an adjustment of status through the court. If you got married while the court case is pending in immigration court, you may have to meet a higher burden of proof regarding showing the bona fides of the marriage. So all of that you have to think about. Hi there, Michael. Nice to see you on YouTube. Keep putting your questions in the comments. I'm going to spend some extra time here going through your questions. Thanks so much for the love. I appreciate it. My uncle has had a visa for years. He has never had a ticket or did a crime. Can he get residency? No. So having a visa and not committing a crime is not going to get you residency. You can only get residency through family, through the employer. And when I say employment or employer, it means maybe self-petition through your educational qualifications, maybe through investment, or maybe through the employer directly, maybe based on your talents. Employment covers all of those possibilities. And then also based on humanitarian. So humanitarian is through asylum. You've gotten asylum, you've gotten the T visa, the U visa, then though, or you've gotten VAWA. You got a proof of VAWA, which I talked about earlier. My client got a proof of VAWA, so she is on her way to getting the green card. Hi, I'm married. I married a U.S. citizen. She did my paperwork. My work permit is is stuck for 75 days. So you'd have to check with them, and you'd also have to check your processing times. If it's over the processing time, then you can always do a case inquiry. The declaration is the hardest to write in the process. So yes, what we understand that with the declaration, it is the most important aspect of this process. And so we make sure that our clients are properly supported and equipped to be able to do the declaration. Asylum residents, can you travel to a neighboring country? So if you are an asylee, you would have to get a travel document to be able to travel. If that country, if wherever you're traveling to is not the country that you got asylum, it should not be a problem. But there could be additional factors here that if you have additional concerns, then you need to talk to your attorney about them. But traveling to another country other than the one that you got asylum from may not be as big of an issue. When your VAWA is approved with adjustment of status, how long to get the green card. So I'd say about another year to year and a half to be able to get the green card. And it depends on a number of factors. So it depends on, are they going to process, are they going to schedule an interview, or are they going to waive it? Do they have additional questions or requirements? They probably, at the point that you get approved for the VAWA, they're probably at the minimum going to want the medical. So you'd have to submit the medical, and then that kind of hints as to what they want. So if they send you a request for evidence for only the medical, it means that they're considering waiving the interview. Can a person who travels on a one entry and still in the US, can that person get a work permit? No. Just first of all, remember, when you're coming here on a visitor's visa, you are saying you will not work. So you don't qualify for the work permit. So this is where I say it's not as easy as printing a work permit off of the website and sending in your work permit application. I got married and my lawyer's telling me I have to go back home for the interview. So is that even possible? So if your attorney is advising you of that, I don't know your situation, but the attorney should be explaining that to you. There is an I-601A waiver process, but you may or may not qualify for that waiver at the same time. If you don't qualify for the waiver and you leave the country, that can lead to big problems. So this is where it's important to maybe get a second opinion here, or talk to your attorney and ask for better clarification. I'm sure your attorney will help you to understand the parts of the process that you're not understanding. What if you married someone and it did not work out before you put your papers in? Why didn't it work out? If you were mistreated, disrespected, then this is where it's time to figure out if relief is available to you through the confidential process of VAWA, where you can take ownership of your own process and apply on your own. That's what I got the news this morning, that my client was approved for exactly that. So And we did apply for that before she went ahead and filed any petitions. I'm a green card holder. I started petitioning for my son when he was 20. He just turned 21. Was there an age freeze? Is the watching period the same? So it's not the same. If you are a US citizen, it freezes his age at 21. However, when it comes on to the calculating the age freeze for the child of a green card holder, it might be different, and it's going to depend on when an immigrant visa number became available and when you are approved for the petition. So they will count the time between the approval of the petition and the time that the visa number became available to be able to determine whether, for immigration purposes, they're going to freeze the age under 21. So it's, get an appointment and let's talk. Can adults attend City College's credit classes if they don't have SSN? So this is a question best targeted towards the college that you're looking at. Individuals are able to attend college even when they're undocumented, but you do have to contact the college about their particular requirements. When filing to USCIS, how long do they take to give you acknowledgement of receiving? So it can range anywhere from 2 weeks to 4 weeks. Sometimes in the busy times, I have seen it go as long as 3 months. But the general time is 2 weeks that I've seen. And it also depends on the case type as well. My mother's a US citizen, but retired. She gets food stamps. Can she petition for me while I'm in the US because I overstayed my visa? So unfortunately, this is it's an important question. The reason being, many individuals are going through the same thing where now your mom there are two situations here. One where you can apply for adjustment of status despite the overstay, the other where you can. If you're under 21 and unmarried, your parent can petition for you. And you can go through adjustment of status process to get the green card. If you're 21 or over, then no, you cannot do adjustment of status. Your parent can surely petition for you, but they will not be able to help you to go through the adjustment of status process to allow you to stay here and get the green card. You have to see if you qualify for any other type of options, and that's what I do in the consultations. So I don't just look at the option of whether you're married or whether you qualify in this case where you're under 21 with a citizen parent. I look at what you've been through, what was the reason for the overstay, what has happened in your background, and I look at alternative ways that can help you to get benefits depending on what you've been through. So this is where the consultation is very important. Asylum, so I answered that. What happens if they lie about VAWA? Big problems. So if they lie about the VAWA, that's immigration fraud, and they will get the book thrown at them. After filing, and keep in mind, these officers are very, very good at spotting these lies. Because the level of detail that's required for these types of applications, with the level of detail, it is very difficult to be able to come up with a fraudulent application or storyline. It's very difficult. The officers look at the credibility. They will dissect your declaration to see if everything is consistent. They will look at your evidence. So even though they accept any credible evidence, including your declaration, they can spot something that is not going to be truthful here. So don't do it. My uncle has had a visa, no crimes. I answered that. After filing, how long should I receive receipt notice? It depends on which case, but 2 weeks would be the average time. What if you're an adult, not married, share a child, and mistreatment is present by the US citizen? So, in this case, I have gotten relief for my clients. I've gotten my client the work permit and status here, and they still have the option of pursuing their green card. But as I said before, VAWA would not be an option here. But what are the circumstances behind this mistreatment? And if I can spot mistreatment that fits within certain other criteria for relief, then I can present that. So, for example, my client who was not married to a US citizen, but even shared children with a US citizen, went for the T and we got approved for that because of the fact that that spouse only had my client there to do work in the house, take care of not only the children but other children. Forced my client to also do work in their business, and that does qualify as for the T status. So that goes to show here that I do not evaluate cases in a box. I think outside of the box. I evaluate all facts to determine what could be best for my clients. If you come across the border and get married and your husband physically abusing you, can you file? Yes, you can file for VAWA. So even if you've come through the border and then your spouse is mistreating you, you can qualify. VAWA is not just for people with status. As a matter of fact, it is for people that don't have status that need this relief. So don't be afraid to reach out and get help because you're out of status. This relief is exactly there for your situation, knowing that you need this to be able to fix the situation and get yourself into a safe position. I've been waiting for my tenure for 2 years now. Yes, it is frustratingly long. And this is why they're also issuing 4 year extensions while you're applying for the 10 year because of that, how long it's taking. I'm married to a US citizen. Our son was born in Jamaica. Is he automatically a citizen too? So while it does take some evaluation to determine this, sometimes even the US citizen has to have presence in the United States for a certain period of time. It is very, very, very possible here that the child is a citizen. You just need to confirm it at the embassy by registering them as a birth abroad. But this is I have done this for my clients, but I need to understand, ask specific questions to see if your baby fits the criteria. Parole approved, marriage based. Can I go outside America? I-130, I-45 pending, asylum pending. So if you want to travel, you have asylum pending, but now you have parole. Should you be going back to the country that you said you couldn't go back to? No, right? Because that's going to raise some questions here. Why is it that you're going back to a country that you said you could not go back to, that you were not safe in? So that can be big problems. But say you're using that advance parole to travel to another country, not the one that you're filing asylum for, then in that case, this is where it's important to check with your attorney because I give my advice to my clients based on an individual basis regarding whether it's safe for them to travel. Hi, should I waive my asylum? Should I waive my asylum application after my I-130 approved and waiting? So it's going to be dependent on a lot of factors here. I can't tell you that, but it's important for you to get legal advice about how to move forward. All right. Let me know here on no sound. All right. Let me know. I need one more person. Just let me know if you can hear me or not. All right. All right, so here I am. Let me go on YouTube now and answer some questions here. We've been in a relationship for 1 month and love each other so much. Is it okay to marry and file for adjustment of status? I've overstayed my visa. So it's yes, no. Is it okay to marry and file? I can't tell you that right on the live, but what I can do is let you know that there's nothing in the law that says you can't apply right after getting married. Now, is it advisable though to just file right away? Because after one of the biggest parts of this application is that you have to show that your marriage is bona fide. The way you have to do that is you have to show it on paper. You have to show um, whether you are living together on paper, whether you are paying bills together on paper, how are you commingling your funds on paper. So all of that does require things like a joint bank account. It requires maybe bills with both of your names on it. It requires a lease agreement or at least a landlord verification form saying that you live together. It requires friends and families to get to know you, to be able to write statements talking about you as a couple. So, is it advisable to just file the papers right after marriage? It just depends on what kind of paper trail do you have to show the history of you as a couple, as a real couple. But it sounds like you have a good foundation here. You are in love, and you really want to move forward and build a life together. That's a good foundation, and it usually leads to a successful process. But then you have to get to work too and put the paperwork together. I uploaded my RFE online for bona fide marriage online without the RFE request on top. Will that be okay? So it's hard to say. So usually the RFE does require you to return it with the RFE on top. Sometimes it just means that they may not, and you did it on your online account, which means it automatically is connected to your account. So it may not be a problem because usually where they want the RFE on top is where you have they're sorting it in the mail room, and so they have to attach the RFE to the case file. But since it's in your online account, it's already connected to your account, then it may not be a problem. Good afternoon, attorney. I had a pending widow's benefits application at the time of filing. My son was out of the US. Now that I gotten approved, he's in the US on a visa. What can I do to get his green card? So if you have a widow's benefit pending, if your son is under 21, you have to get your benefit approved in order for your son to be able to get the okay to move forward with adjustment of status. So before you tell him to stay, make sure you get legal advice because your son has to be under 21 and unmarried, and you have to make sure that your petition is approved for your son to move forward through the adjustment of status process. Otherwise, your son could get stuck. If you are, and keep in mind, that he is a derivative. However, even though he's a derivative, he still has to maintain his status to properly qualify for adjustment of status. If you're here on a visitor's visa, what kind of tax they can take from your pay? So you would have to talk to another attorney for that one. I have a question about my I-130 for parents. I want to know if my parents' children fall under the same petition or I have to submit another I-130 for my siblings. So get legal advice, because I've seen this become such a big problem where there's the assumption that, well, my parent has small children, so those children must be able to be included, right? Because there's no way they would leave the children hanging while my parent got the green card, right? Think again. Yes, those children will be left hanging. Doesn't matter if your parent has a 10-month-old or they have a 10-year-old. The way that the immigration law is set now is that you, as a U.S. citizen, petition for your parent, but your parent cannot include any children on that application. So when your parent gets the papers, that child is still going to be without their papers. So you do have to file a petition for the siblings, but here's another very unpleasant fact here that sometimes leads to an unpleasant surprise. And that is the sibling petition takes 14 years. So that child of your parent, your sibling, is not going to get through the process. And if they overstay, they're going to have a really hard time doing adjustment of status as the law is right now. So can the siblings be included? No, they can't. Can you file a petition? Yes, you can, but it's not going to solve the problem short term. It's going to be at least 14 years for your sibling to get their papers. And if they're here, if they overstay their visa, that's more problems. They probably will not go through the process successfully. How long it take to get the receipt number after filing VAWA? So 2 weeks to 4 weeks. Good morning, ma'am. I need an insight. My VAWA was approved 10 months ago, was requested to submit a medical 7 months ago. Till now, I haven't heard anything back. So if you haven't heard anything back, it means they're still processing, and it really depends on the service center and how backed up they are, because it does go to your local service center. It's just a waiting game at this point to see if they schedule the interview or if they send your green card. How long to change case from closed embassy in Haiti to another embassy for the green card interview? So it's going to be dependent on the embassy. Can my dad file for me if I'm over 21? He's a Canadian, so I don't do Canadian immigration law. You'll have to check with a Canadian attorney. Can my biological son, who is over 21 and unmarried, be able to petition for me if his mother and I are not married? No. So you have to be married. How long does it take to adjust from an asylum bearing in mind I had a 2-year rule since I was at J1, now married to a citizen? Get legal advice. You might have an issue here. Did you get your 2-year foreign residency requirement waived? If not, you might have a big problem. Hi there, a VAWA case filed 2021 and a VAWA case filed 2023 are both on the same processing time. So naturally, the one that's filed in 2021 is going to come through faster, right? So right now the processing time, the total processing time is about 3 years. That's showing on the immigration service. However, that does not mean if you filed it in 2021, for example, then 2024, you're likely to get the decision. Whereas with 2023, it might be in 2026 that they get it. So naturally, it wouldn't be on the same processing times, but it means the same length of time, but it doesn't mean that they're being processed. One is being processed faster than the other. I-130, I-485, deny USCIS said they sent RFE, but I don't receive any, and I checked my app, said I responded. So this is definite, this is very specific, and you need to schedule an appointment, and because that is something you'd have to discuss with whether there's a motion to reopen or reconsider. Can my US citizen biological son, who is over 21 and unmarried, be able to petition for me if his, oh, so I answered that. Is there an interview for T visa application? Usually no, there are no interviews. If your asylum case was dismissed from court, what's your next step? So it depends on what you qualify for. What happened to the Dignity Act that was proposed last year? So it's sitting there, unfortunately. There's no movement because immigration is just one of those things that we cannot agree on here in the US. So it is sitting there, just like we have this border deal and other bills, many other bills that have been proposed have been sitting there. So um, there's just no movement. How long does it take for son to file for mother? If the son is a US citizen, I would say 6 months to a year. Should I be worried if I haven't gotten a receipt number? Well, if you wait for, say, 2 months, still haven't gotten a receipt number, then you need to call to figure out what's going on. It may have been sent to the wrong address. You want to make sure they have the right address. Is it safe to travel on AP if I have 2 illegal entries? So I'm not your attorney. I wouldn't be able to tell you that on the live. 2 illegal entries is very serious, and it could possibly mean a permanent bar. So you would be at a higher risk here traveling on AP than the usual. How long after biometrics do we get work permit and green card? I wouldn't be able to say the biometrics, they're all over the place. Uh, all right, so I'm going to close with this question. Um, Where is your office? So we are located in Boca Raton, Florida. However, while we're based here in Boca Raton, Florida, we do represent our clients all over the country and the globe. So no matter where you are, I can assist you. What I would suggest that you do right now is schedule your appointment. My calendar is filling up. And so it's very important that if you would like to get personalized legal advice, that you schedule now. So let's figure out your options, because that's what I do. I do ask more in-depth questions in the consultation to determine whether you qualify for any forms of relief or benefits here to be able to get the work permit, be able to get your social security number, and be able to get status and residence here. So, this is where you really do have to make that investment, reach out and talk to me about your particular issues. Thanks again for your time. And I am going to, it's been very busy here at the office, and I usually aim to be here Mondays through Fridays. But because it's busy and I'm on a mission to help my clients to succeed. Sometimes it's not possible for me to come on. So tomorrow and Thursday, I will not be able to, because I have other engagements throughout this week. And so I will not be able to come. And then I'm also attending a conference. So we're attending a conference, the ILA conference, that tells us all the updates that are happening in immigration law, and it helps me to sharpen my skills. So I will also be attending that. And so what I will do though is I will be able to talk to you next week and talk to you about some of those updates as well, so that you are also in the know along with me. All right. So have a great one, everyone. I'll see you hopefully on Monday. I'll come back on, answer questions. But in the meantime, please go ahead and book your consultation. That is where you can take action to figure out a solution for yourself an option for yourself going forward. All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.